How does a team go from 0 shots on target in a completely lifeless first half to, well, sparking one of the largest global internet conspiracy theories in sports history by the final whistle?
I mean, it's wild just thinking about it.
Right. Today, we are diving into a psychological collapse so severe that an entire nation convinced themselves the referee was, like, a phantom agent. You are looking at the July 15, 2026 World Cup semifinal in Atlanta, England versus Argentina.
It really is the ultimate case study. Like, if you look at the raw data from places like goal.com compared to the incredibly visceral reporting we saw from the Hindustan Times regarding the fallout, two completely different realities of this match emerge.
Yeah, and it's so much more than just a 2-1 comeback victory for Argentina. We're pulling from a pretty diverse stack of sources today. Match reports from The Guardian and Sports Illustrated, player ratings, live updates, and pundit reactions from TNT Sports, plus official post-match quotes from FIFA.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Yeah, because this wasn't just a soccer game. It's basically a masterclass in the psychology of high-stakes pressure. It shows exactly what happens when tactical fear collides with absolute relentless resilience. And honestly, it shows how a lack of information on a TV broadcast can instantly spawn massive global conspiracies.
Which is fascinating. But to understand that chaotic ending, we really have to understand the grueling trench warfare of how this match started, because that completely set the stage for the dramatic shift in momentum.
Oh, absolutely.
And looking at the stats, that first half was just brutal.
Brutal and incredibly tense. Neither team wanted to make the first mistake.
The numbers are actually staggering. In the entire first half, there were 0 shots on target from either side. 0. But there were a whopping 19 fouls.
Wow, 19.
Yeah. It was like watching a heavyweight boxing match where both fighters realize early on they don't want to get knocked out, so they just clinch for 45 minutes leaning on each other.
That boxing analogy is spot on, honestly, because the sheer physicality was all about intimidation. What's fascinating here is the history. When England plays Argentina, they aren't just playing the 11 guys on the pitch. They are playing against the ghosts of Mexico in '86.
Right, the hand of God and all that.
Exactly. And the infamous clash in France in '98. The Guardian's match report highlighted how that historical bad blood practically pulsed through the stadium in Atlanta. It seeped into every single tackle.
And it visibly affected the stars. I mean, you look at the goal.com ratings, and it is grim reading for England's biggest names. Jude Bellingham, easily one of the best players on the planet, got a 5 out of 10. And he even lost his temper with Lionel Messi at one point.
Yeah, that was a telling moment.
And Harry Kane, the captain, got a 4 out of 10. He was practically anonymous. But mechanically, how does a team actually make a player like Bellingham disappear like that?
Well, you do it by compressing the space in the middle of the pitch. Argentina recognized that Bellingham thrives in those areas between the midfield and defense. So they didn't just man-mark him, they physically disrupted his rhythm. Every time he dropped deep, there was an Argentine player right on his ankles, giving him a slight nudge, a late clip.
Just constantly annoying him.
Exactly. It drops a player's emotional baseline. And we saw that work perfectly when he eventually lost his temper with Messi.
So you've got this incredibly physical, frustrating war of attrition. But England actually seemed to shade that battle early on. They come out after halftime looking like the team that actually wants to play. And that brings us to the 55th minute, the breakthrough.
The moment that changed everything.
Right. So surprise starter Morgan Rogers whips this perfect cross into the box. Anthony Gordon races in, catches the defense napping, and taps it in. England is 1-0 up. If you are an England fan, you are suddenly dreaming of your first World Cup final since 1966.
And you could physically see the belief surge through them. Shortly after that goal, the English fullback Jed Spence makes this fearless goal-saving slide tackle on Giuliano Simeone. England had the momentum. They had the lead.
But the irony here is that this momentary triumph directly caused the psychological collapse that followed. You'd think, having finally broken through, they would press their advantage, but instead, they completely changed their approach.
Which is a classic example of loss aversion. The fear of losing that lead became greater than the drive to extend it.
Let's break down Tuchel's substitutions, because they are wild. In the 72nd minute, instead of pushing, Thomas Tuchel subs off Anthony Gordon, the guy who literally just scored, and brings on a defender, Ezri Konsa. He shifts into a back 5.
Right, essentially building a defensive fortress.
Yeah, and then later throws on Dan Burn and Nico O'Reilly in a desperate bid to shut up shop.
But wait, I have to push back here. Wasn't Tuchel just playing it safe? Like, he did this exact same thing successfully against Mexico in the last 16. England went down to 10 men, he parked the bus, and they won. Surely that's a valid strategy. Well, it's a valid strategy against Mexico, sure, because context and the opponent matter, right?
Right.
Mexico doesn't have Lionel Messi, and Mexico doesn't control the ball like Argentina. Inviting a team of Argentina's caliber to attack you relentlessly is fatal. Pundits on TNT Sports backed this up. Wayne Rooney said England just panicked and surrendered the ball.
And Joe Hart noted Argentina showed zero panic.
Exactly. And there is a deeply chilling quote from Argentina's manager, Lionel Scaloni, given to FIFA after the match. He said, "When we're under pressure and the opposition hesitates just a little, that's when we smell blood and go all the way."
Oof. Smell blood and go all the way. That is terrifying.
It really is. That is the mentality of champions. When England hesitated and shifted to that back five, Argentina didn't see a fortress. They saw blood in the water.
And because England retreated, they basically rolled out the red carpet for arguably the greatest player in history to orchestrate a comeback. The statistical domination in the final quarter of the match is just staggering.
Oh, the numbers are heavily skewed.
Yeah, here's where it gets really interesting. Listen to these final stats. Argentina ended the game with 64% possession. They generated 15 shots compared to England's 5. And their expected goals, or XG, was 1.84 compared to England's 0.53.
You could just feel the pressure building. Alexis McAllister hit the post twice in rapid succession. The dam was cracking.
And in the 85th minute, the dam bursts. Argentina wins a corner, but instead of crossing it in, Messi plays it short. He taps it to Enzo Fernandez, who blasts an absolute rocket from 25 yards out into the net. It's 1-1.
Mechanically, that short corner is exactly why dropping deep is so dangerous. It changes the angle and forces a stagnant, exhausted defense to rapidly step up. England was just a split second too slow.
And then the knockout blow. 92nd minute stoppage time. Messi weaves his way to the right byline, creates half a yard of space, and crosses to substitute Lautaro Martinez, who heads in the winner. 2-1 Argentina.
We really need to pause and talk about Messi's impact here. According to the stats, Messi completed 9 dribbles and 2 assists in this single match. That is a record for a single World Cup knockout game since records began in 1966.
Wait, really? Since 1966? That is absurd for a guy his age.
Right, but he could do it because England vacated the midfield. Messi didn't have to sprint to find space. The space was handed to him.
And the Argentine players knew it. Lautaro Martinez gave a fascinating post-match quote. He said he actually told McAllister he was going to score before he even came on.
Which is just incredible confidence.
Totally. Martinez observed that England simply got tired. He noted they dropped back and gave Argentina absolute freedom to move the ball around.
Which highlights the physical toll of defending that deep against a possession team. You are constantly shifting side to side, chasing shadows, until your legs eventually give out.
It's a brutal realization. But okay, if we step off the pitch, an entirely different story was unfolding for thousands of fans watching at home. Because to them, this wasn't about Messi's brilliance or Tuchel's tactical errors.
No, not at all.
They believed there was a third factor deciding the game on the pitch: the referees. Now, I want to be super clear here to anyone listening. We are absolutely not taking sides or endorsing these views.
Right, we're just looking at the reporting.
Exactly. We are simply reporting on the Hindustan Times article, detailing the massive conspiracy theories that flooded social media, accusing FIFA and VA of institutional bias toward Argentina.
And this is where it gets into the psychology of how fans consume information. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it perfectly illustrates the information deficit model.
Let's outline the incidents they were so mad about. There were 3 main ones. First, in the 3rd minute, Enzo Fernandez puts a crunching challenge on Elliot Anderson. Fans screamed for a red card, but the referee gave nothing.
Which established a very lenient baseline early on.
Right. Then, the 85th minute equalizer. Fans claimed Fernandez was offside before the decisive pass. But here's the kicker. The TV broadcast awarded the goal without ever showing the viewers that familiar, calibrated VAR offside graphic.
The missing graphic, that's the spark.
It sparked instant suspicion. And then the second goal in the 92nd minute. Fans argued Messi committed a foul while battling for possession deep in England's half before setting up the winner. No whistle, goal stands.
So because the TV broadcast didn't show that VAR offside graphic on the first goal, the absence of visual evidence became concrete proof of corruption in the court of public opinion.
Even though every goal is automatically checked anyway.
Exactly. The automated check was happening in the background, but conspiracy theories thrive in an information vacuum. If fans don't see it, they assume something sinister is happening. And you have to remember, this skepticism around Argentina has been building ever since their 2022 win in Qatar.
Yeah, there is a lot of confirmation bias at play.
Oh, definitely.
So taking all this in, what does this all mean for you, the listener? I think it's a profound lesson in how a shift in mentality, like going from playing to win to playing not to lose, can completely unravel a team. It is the danger of hesitation.
And it shows how easily narratives and conspiracy theories rush in to fill the void when people are desperately looking for a reason to explain heartbreak.
For sure. It is so much easier to blame a rigged system than to accept that your team just got tactically outplayed.
Absolutely. And speaking of heartbreak, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over.
Okay, lay it on me.
There's a startling statistic from the sources that we haven't touched on yet. In the entire 21st century, there have only been 2 instances where a team scored first in a World Cup semifinal but failed to reach the final.
Wait, only 2 times? In over 2 decades?
Only 2 times. Both of those instances were the English national team. First against Croatia in 2018 and now against Argentina in 2026.
Oh, wow. That is a heavy stat.
It really asks you to consider, is there a deeply ingrained psychological block in the English national team? When they get a lead on the biggest stage, do they subconsciously collapse under the weight of their own history, making their defeats a self-fulfilling prophecy?
Man, that is a fascinating question to chew on. Well, we want to enthusiastically thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the sources today. Keep in mind, Argentina will now carry this chaotic momentum into a massive final against Spain's technical precision. It is going to be wild. Till next time, keep questioning the narrative.